I'd like to show you 3 techniques that you as a teacher can use that'll really help improve the tone of your clarinet students. Checking the angle of the clarinet, checking if they have enough mouthpiece in their mouth, and if they have a stiff enough reed for the best sound. If I'm looking down, it interferes with the way the air flows through the instrument, and we really hear it in the tone. What I say to my students is just if they were to look at me and say, hello, that's where we want their chin to be. Now in that register, which is where a lot of your beginners play, we just hear it as a little bit of fuzz. If I were to take that into the high register, so your players in their 2nd and 3rd year, we hear a much more dramatic difference. So my pitch goes all over the place, my tone gets really wild, and that's the angle of my head. And a great way to work with this is have your students pair up with each other if you have a class of students, and have them take a cell phone photo from the side, and really they get a chance to see what they actually look like when they're playing. Now there's another part of angle that is a factor in tone, and it's similar. It does relate to how the clarinet fits, but that's the angle we choose to hold our clarinet at. If you get them with their head up, clarinet at the right angle, instantly their high notes are more in tune and the tone is more focused and more regular. Start with their clarinet pulled in as far as they can, and then just slowly hold it out and you listen to the sound, and the students themselves are usually smart enough to recognize where they sound at their best. The next thing you can look for that can make an instant difference is how much mouthpiece the student has in their mouth. If you have a student who's kind of wimping out in the high register, this can make a big difference. I have them play a note with just a tiny bit of mouthpiece and then put in a bit more, put in a bit more, and what you'll generally find is the tone gets better and better until there's kind of an invisible line on the mouthpiece, and I sort of call it the squeak point, where you cross it and you get a horrible squeak. It's a really fun exercise for the kids to do because when they get to the squeak point, it's very obvious. So it's nice for them to kind of figure out how this works. Now the third thing that you should know as a teacher to watch for is if your student is playing on the correct reed strength. And if you want to test for your students, what I have them do is tongue a C major scale in the high register, and those high notes in many cases won't even speak if their reed's too wimpy. That's a sign that the tone doesn't have enough support. Have them move their reed a little bit higher on the mouthpiece than they normally would. If you do that, and then they try hitting those higher notes, and they come out, even if it sounds airy and fuzzy, that's a sure sign that that student needs to be on a stiffer reed. So those are 3 things that really make a dramatic difference very quickly for a student. Checking the angle of the clarinet, checking if they have enough mouthpiece in their mouth, and if they have a stiff enough reed for the best sound.